There is a specific version of this story that repeats itself in hospital rooms across the country, yet almost nobody talks about it. On paper, this doesn't look like a tragedy at all. This is the 65-year-old man who spent 40 years being the model of financial discipline. He maxed out his retirement contributions every single year and skipped vacations because they felt irresponsible. He drove the same car for 15 years and turned down dinners with friends because spending felt like wasting savings he was told to protect. By retirement, his account balance is remarkable, $2 million or more. But then the spreadsheet fails to account for biological reality. His knees give out, making the hiking trips he promised himself impossible. His hearing declines, and the concerts he wanted to attend become exhausting. A diagnosis arrives that reshapes his life, filling his calendar with medical appointments instead of adventures. By every financial measure, he is wealthy. But for a human being living inside a body with a fixed expiration date, he is running out of time much faster than he is running out of money. This isn't a rare outlier. Retirement planners call this the wealthy pauper paradox, the phenomenon of dying with far more money than intended after spending your healthiest decades operating under near constant financial restriction. Studies show that many retirees spend less after they stop working, not because they lack funds, but because of financial hoarding anxiety. Decades of a scarcity mindset train the brain to treat spending as an active danger. The nervous system doesn't recognize a comfortable balance as permission to relax. It keeps sounding the alarm, guarding money that ultimately does no good. If the goal of saving was to eventually fund experiences and comfort, our culture has successfully taught people to optimize for the balance itself, while forgetting to teach them how to actually use it. To understand why this happens, we have to look at a concept ignored by almost all financial brochures. Money doesn't just lose value to the economy, it loses value to time inflation. This is the irreversible erosion of what a dollar can purchase in terms of physical energy, stamina, and lived experience, regardless of what that dollar can still buy in terms of goods. Consider two versions of the same person, each holding $100,000. One version is 25 years old, the other is 70. On a spreadsheet, those two sums are identical. At 25, that money can fund 6 months of backpacking through unfamiliar countries, sleeping in hostels, and hiking for 12 hours straight. It funds the kind of physical risk-taking, like scuba diving or spontaneous road trips, that requires a body capable of recovering instantly from strain. At 70, that same $100,000 can buy a nice hotel and a guided tour, but it cannot buy back the knees required for that 12-hour trek. It cannot buy back the decades of memories that would have been built by living those experiences 45 years earlier. A dollar's ability to generate life experience isn't a flat line, it's a curve. When you save too aggressively while that curve is at its highest, you risk trading high-value years for low-value years. This is because of the memory dividend. Experiences generate an ongoing psychological return that pays out in happiness every single time that memory is recalled. A trip taken at 28 costs money once, but it pays emotional dividends for the next 50 years. That same trip delayed until 75 generates a significantly smaller window of returns, simply because there is less lifespan left to collect the dividends. Saving aggressively during these peak years systematically converts your highest value time into your lowest value years, all in exchange for an account balance you may no longer be physically capable of enjoying. Over the last 15 years, the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, grew as a supposed escape from this trap. Followers often save 70% of their income to retire in their 30s or 40s. To hit these targets, many spend their 20s in extreme restriction, skipping social events, avoiding relationships that complicate the math, and living in uncomfortable conditions. They are making the same trade as the traditional retiree, just compressed into a shorter window. This often leads to post-FIRE depression. Many early retirees hit their number only to find an identity vacuum. Purpose and social connection do not magically appear just because a bank account crosses a threshold. Having spent a decade optimizing for a single number, many find they never developed the skills or relationships required to actually enjoy the freedom once it arrives. Both paths risk the same outcome, sacrificing the experiential richness of your most capable years to chase a numerical abstraction. We have seen how saving too conservatively leads to physical decay, while saving too aggressively can hollow out your prime years. But it is also a heavily incentivized structural mechanism built directly into the modern financial system. To understand the institutional scale of this mechanism, you have to look at how the retirement industry generates revenue. The vast ecosystem of advisors and funds runs entirely on assets under management fees. They take a small percentage off the top of your total balance year after year. Every financial firm has a direct structural incentive to convince you to keep contributing, to keep growing the account, and to delay large withdrawals until the last possible moment. Their income depends entirely on your money staying invested, rather than being spent on your actual life. The retirement calculators provided by these exact same institutions are heavily skewed. They aggressively model statistical anomalies, like living perfectly healthy into your late 90s, while completely ignoring the much more common risk of dying with a massive, unused surplus of cash. The financial industry does not collect a fee for helping you time your spending to maximize your happiness. It profits by keeping you deeply afraid of ever running out of money. That fear eventually triggers a quiet government-enforced penalty. When you reach a specific age, currently 73, the IRS activates the Required Minimum Distribution, or RMD. This animation illustrates exactly how the RMD mechanism operates against oversavers. A traditional 401k vault grows tax-deferred for decades, but at age 73, an automated claw legally forces you to withdraw massive chunks of that money every single year, turning those dollars red as they are taxed as ordinary income. This creates huge unwanted tax spikes for retirees who have no practical use for the sudden cash influx. If that money sits unspent, it eventually drops into a legal funnel upon death. The administrative process of probate chips away at the total value, and estate taxes slice significant percentages out of whatever remains before it reaches an heir. Decades of highly disciplined savings, driven entirely by the desire for ultimate security, ultimately generates a forced, heavy tax penalty, having provided zero lived experiences to the person who actually worked to accumulate it. In 2020, Bill Perkins published a framework called Die with Zero that challenges the core assumption of personal finance. He argues that the optimal financial life ends with a net worth of zero, having successfully converted every single dollar into meaningful experiences before death. The strategy requires deliberate front-loading. You map out the biological windows when certain experiences are physically possible: ambitious travel in your 20s, highly active family time in your 30s, and you spend the money then, rather than hoarding it for a decade when you can no longer participate. This framework also refrains inheritance. Instead of passively passing down a lump sum when you die, leaving money to heirs who are likely in their 60s and already financially established, you strategically gift that wealth earlier. You fund down payments or business capital when your children are young, and the money can dramatically improve their trajectory. The math presents a strict trade-off. You can accept a smaller safety net to take meaningful risks and live fully in your youth. Or you can spend your best decades in strict restriction to guarantee a massive safety net for a physically frail old age. Financial mastery requires recognizing that time is the actual scarce resource that needs managing, and money is simply the fuel you burn to experience it. Money is a tool. It is a stored, transferable form of energy meant to purchase human connection, comfort, and memory. You can always adjust your budget to earn another dollar. You can never earn back a decade of physical capability or replicate the brief window of time when your health, your calendar, and your family align perfectly. The truest currency of your existence is the finite, non-refundable supply of healthy years you have remaining to actually live. So look at your own balance sheet. Would you rather live fully right now or save aggressively for a comfortable but uncertain later? Let us know in the comments below. And if this video helped you reevaluate your own time and money, hit subscribe for more deep dives into the psychology of personal finance.